So what attracted you to this project?
When I was finishing Piranha, I read the book, and I was absolutely surprised when I was reading it how amazingly different it was from everything else. I was reading it, and chapter after chapter I was going from dark comedy to horror to drama to thriller. All those genres were like living together within the book, and that was just like the most amazing experience. And finishing the book, I knew I had to make the movie. I had to bring that to the big screen.
Now, this is a lot different from Piranha. I mean, Piranha is lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of violence. I mean, this one is very limited. It's, I mean, there is certain scenes in it, of course. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen the too. But, was this way different from like out of your spectrum?
I mean, every movie is really different from one to the other. You know, like High Tension was different from The Hills of Eyes, different from Piranha, and this one is completely different, of course, by the story. But Piranha was a dark comedy. It was a pure horror comedy as well, despite the blood and the amount of gore. It was just like a very funny experience. So somehow, Haunts is more like going into that continuity of exploring the dark humor and going more into the satire of America, Like, I like the subtext of The Hills of Eyes and how critical we can be of the American society. The same thing with Piranha, with the spring break and the attack. And here, when you have the Haunts and you realize how people are hypocritical and they can like just, not say what they have inside, and when they start saying the truth, it's becoming like a hell. I love that. I thought it was an amazing take on the American society.
Now, I've also read parts of the book, and I also watched the movie. Now, your movie doesn't exactly follow the timeline sequence of the events of the book, so you actually made changes. Why did you make those type of calls?
I mean, the book is amazing, but as an adaptation in the movie, it would have been a 6-hour movie. And I couldn't do a 6-hour movie for sure, so we had to find a way to combine all the elements to make a 2 hours experience that will be true to the essence of the book. So we had to choose, combine, unfortunately lose a few character development in some of the characters, but at the end, and with like Joy's blessing, we had a movie that I think is very respectful to the feeling of a reader finishing Haunts.
Was there any of your favorite scenes from the book that you wish that you put into your novel or clarify it a little bit better?
Of course, if I had more screen time, I would have loved to. There is a moment in the book that we shot, but we have the same, called The Fire Sermon, where the character is kind of making a speech and talking to his snake. And I thought it was a really powerful scene, but it couldn't fit within the movie because it was too long. And that's a moment I would have loved to keep.
Now, one of the things when I was reading the book was over Daniel Radcliffe to play Ig Parrish, and I never pictured Daniel Radcliffe because to me, like in my head, he was just a good boy from Harry Potter. Was that how did you make the choice of Daniel Radcliffe? I mean, it was just like out of left field.
I don't think that Ig Parrish is never bad. He's always like he's transforming into the devil, but it's the world that becomes hell. It's not him. It's only the appearances for him that are showing these horns, and he's like getting burned, and he has like the snake and all that stuff. But he's still at the end himself, and he's still the only good person within the story. So I think Daniel. Like I saw like Ig Parrish as a very romantic character, not in a cheesy, naive way, but more as someone who lived all his feelings in an absolute way. And Daniel Radcliffe is exactly like that in life. So when I met him, it was an obvious thing that he was the character, that he could bring to Ig Parrish this kind of commitment, that loyal approach of love and revenge. And I mean, I cannot imagine anyone else, truly. But it was for me an obvious thing. And what's funny is in the book, I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment when Ig Parrish and Marion are talking about what they will do when they have kids. And one of the things they will do is to read Harry Potter.
Yeah, that was pretty ironic. Yeah. How much did Joe Hill himself actually consult with you for this movie?
Joe was really involved in the whole process during the writing of the script, obviously, and then he came to visit us on set. But then it was really when we finished the movie and we showed him the first cut that I wanted. He's he's someone who's been walking a long time and he knows that the book and the movie are really different sometimes. But I wanted more than that. I just wanted him to embrace the movie and be sure that he was really happy. And as he says, I mean, he loved the movie and he thinks the movie is really truthful to the book. So, what else can I? It's perfect for me.
So, what was the most difficult thing you had to do for this type of production?
The most difficult, the most challenging one was, of course, to find a way to make all the different genres, the dark comedy, the horror, the thriller, the love story, live together within a story that looks like legit and not something where it comes from nowhere. And that was the most challenging element, to create on screen.
One of the aspects that is a lot of the orders were also reshuffled throughout the entire movie, because when I was watching the movie, I even had the chapters of who he met, who he read the minds, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you just reshuffle it because it flowed a little bit better?
Yeah, we had to adapt. We had to adapt the character of Lee, the structure. Like the book started with him waking up with the horns glowing and the donut scene. In the movie, we felt that we needed a little bit more background of him pre-horns, because the way Joe wrote was like a lot of flashbacks. Like he's thinking about what happened like the week before, the day before, the 3 days before, and that's kind of like a very hard structure to bring to the screen when you have too much flashback. So the idea was really to go more in a linear order and start with Hig not having the horns and have that moment later on. And that would change, of course, the whole narration.
And can you tell me about how you actually design and make the horns larger and larger throughout the entire process?
So I mean, yeah, the horns were a big challenge as well, because in the book they are very non-descriptive. They're kind of glowing sometimes, they're kind of red, they're kind of, and I didn't want the Halloween kind of costume horns. I wanted something that feels organic, something that feels real, something that kind of come back to that imagery from the classicism, romanticism, like from like the Gustave Doré illustration of the Paradise Lost, and so I wanted like horns that kind of belong to the hair. And so I'm working with great makeup artists, Gregory Nicotero and Candy and Mike McCarthy, and they created for me a whole set of horns that were really easy to put on Daniel's head, and then makeup, and then different sizes, so we could deal through like an evolution that feels logical to the movie without seeing them growing all the time, and without falling into the CG world where I didn't want to go. I wanted them to be real. I wanted it to be organic and feel that it belongs to the body of Daniel.
That looked very realistic. One more question. So what are the upcoming projects after our horns out for you?
A lot of things. We like developing a lot of different projects. TV shows, scanners. That's very exciting, and a few movies that I produce. The Pyramid for Fox that's coming out on December 5th, and a lot of things coming. And I don't know yet what will be the next one, but hopefully I will be shooting before the end of the year.
No more Hills or Bronx.
I love the genre, and there is always I will always come back to the scary movies.
Okay, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.